welcome everybody. Welcome to the Fanatic Sports Podcast. It's a big day today. Look, we already went international yesterday, so we big time. We got an author on today, and not just the author, but not just the historian, but not just a great fan, but a Fanstorian. So, look, we big time. My man Mack Bryant is on with us today.
Big time.
Episode 39 of the Fanatic Sports Podcast, and it's special because we got actually. So look, this is the big thing. It's not just because he's got an awesome book that's out. It's not just because we're going to talk about a groundbreaking defensive tackle. And as an offensive tackle, I can tell you that I always fight for the trenches.
There you go.
Always fight for the linemen. But I mean, we also and this is Mac. This is the angry Puerto Rican Anthony. Listen,
how you doing?
There won't be any shenanigans today.
Maybe possibly, because I have a question first off before we even start. After looking at his profile and kind of getting a little understanding of who this man is.
Okay.
So yeah, are you a Vikings fan?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He's a football fan.
Yes.
Okay. That's the
point. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to get into this now, but I'll either talk about it now or whenever you want. Why I chose him specifically.
Okay. You know what? All right. So I do want to get into that, but just a moment. Because,
okay.
So here's the deal. We call the Fanatic Sports Podcast, and fanatic is a synonym for crazy.
Yep.
I'm still on.
But my thing is, I love the crazy fans. I love the passionate fans. And you as a Fanstorian is right on time with it, but because we're on Thursday we hit our anniversary episode, 40th episode, 1 year episode. And you know what the content creation portion of this is like. It's a struggle.
Yes.
So for us to get there, we're definitely gonna celebrate, right? But one of the things that I love is the passionate story. So what I always like to start with for each guest is give me your fandom story. Okay. How did you become a fan of it? Doesn't matter what sport: football, baseball, basketball, cricket. You pick your favorite team and you tell me that story.
I'll give you two.
All right, great.
Yeah, the NFL. I honestly can't remember a time where I didn't love the NFL.
Right.
My father was a fan. He's not as big a fan anymore, but he was a fan. And my first memories of football, the first Super Bowl I can remember is Super Bowl 12. Wow. I was 7 years old, sitting on the living room floor, because I've always been a football geek. So I was keeping stats on with a number 2 pencil and paper as the game's going on, or writing down, guy gets a carry, I add 3 yards, I erase it, add 4 more. That's the type of fan I was. So I literally can't remember a time where I didn't love the NFL. I'm on the Falcons now.
Okay. And
I've basically, because I've been living in the area, I moved to Atlanta in 2001. Okay. And that was right when the Vikings.
Oh, the Dirty Birds. Oh, wow.
But that was right when the Vic experience was starting. So the owner of the team, Arthur Blank, who had just bought the team, he dropped the season ticket prices. So the lowest prices in the stadium were $10 a seat. So you could get an entire season ticket package for $100 at that time.
That's pretty good.
So it was
it's easy to become a fan then.
Exactly.
Of course. If tickets are $10,
Well, you had literally the most exciting player in football on the team at the time.
So all right, so to be fair, let me cut you off right here because I have to make sure that I say this as much as I can. Okay. I hate left-hand quarterbacks. All of them. All right. So and to be fair, Mac, the issue is I played left tackle because my strongest leg was my right leg, and so I had a good kick off that left leg, right leg. But if we got to go left-hand quarterback, now I'm not as valuable as the right side, right?
Yeah. Oh, so you weren't so valuable that it would just flip you over. You weren't so valuable that they would just put you on the more important side?
Well, okay, so my left leg wasn't as strong, so it wasn't as quick.
Okay, all right.
It may be me if we're gonna be honest about it, Matt.
Let's be honest.
It might just be me, but either way, I hate left-hand quarterbacks.
Oh, and now the Falcons have another one.
Having said that, Michael Vick was the only left-hand quarterback I could tolerate. It was unreal. Some of the stuff. Going back and watching his highlights are just mind-blowing.
So
I'll tell you,
Arthur Blank he's a genius as a marketer. Yeah. And he knew he wanted that stadium full, so he got that stadium full, and it was amazing.
Look,
so even now,
imagine watching that man. I was gonna say, imagine watching. You forget. Imagine watching it personally.
Woo!
So I got to watch it personally. So my mom was really good friends before she passed away. My mom was really good friends with Linda Beamer, Frank Beamer's wife.
His college coach.
And so I get to experience and enjoy Michael Vick in college.
Nice.
Before he hit the NFL. So I knew about him. I knew about Marcus Vick. There was a lot that I knew about watching him. Got to see Antonio Freeman on the sideline. There are a lot of things that I got to enjoy as an actual fan. So that's why my they will always be number one. But because I'm an alumni and I went to school here in Arkansas, okay. I'm a huge Razorback fan. But number one's always going to be Vatek.
Yeah.
There's nothing like coming out. There's nothing like it when you can actually witness when they play Metallica's Enter Sandman.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing like it. It's insane.
I associate Enter Sandman because I lived in New York during the heyday of the Yankees during that time, and that's the same song that Mariano Rivera came out.
I'm a Met fan. Yeah, I'm a Met fan, but I didn't get to go see Derek Peters' last game. So just think about that. Like a lot of similarities to Mario. I gotta say it, the best closer that's ever existed.
Rivera,
but he was like if you look at Vic was one of those guys that had that killer instinct, and if he didn't have those issues going on legally, I think he probably would have been honestly surpassed a lot of records. I can't say he probably wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. I can't say it.
I'll take it a different direction. Okay. I think those troubles made him focus on the game because he was doing it 100% on talent. He'll tell you. He'll say he said it. He wasn't studying the playbook. He didn't know the playbook. He was doing it based on talent. He went away for all the right reasons, came back, got under Andy Reid, and now he's starting to put talent together with knowledge of the game. So honestly, I'm not sure if he without that would he have been as good in the second part of his career.
That's a
no, you're definitely right about that.
So tell me, you said you had a second favorite story.
Yeah. So the first one was just me being an NFL geek. 1977 Super Bowl 12 Broncos and the Cowboys. That's what I remember initially. But then the second story is how I became a Falcon fan, and that was the Mike Vick and the Mike Vick experience and all of that. And still, probably the most fun I've ever had at a game in person. The Falcons played the Rams on a Saturday night in the playoffs. This was the greatest show on turf, Rams. But after they were tapering off. So Warner had gone. Mark Bulger was their quarterback.
Mark Bulger, wow.
The Falcons ran them completely out of the building. It was 47-17, I believe, the final. Sheesh. And Vick went over 100. Warwick Dunn also went over 100. And the fans nearly blew the roof off that place. That's the most fun I've ever had in a stadium. It was the 2004 season, I believe.
That was.
Well, with that being said, I do have a question. Yeah, I know he's going through some technical difficulties right now, so I do have a question, man. So you wrote a book.
Yes.
And talk about that a little bit. Like, talk about what made you get into wanting to do this, why, and like, you know, and explain. Don't explain it. So I want people to get on here and be like, "Oh, I gotta go get this book." So
yeah,
give a little gist of it.
I'm not gonna give it away, but the book is called "The GOAT Rules," and the premise is handling the GOAT debate, but in a way that savvy NFL fans like us would, right? Everybody got a knee-jerk, okay, this is the guy I think it is. But how would I explain it to you? How would I prove it to you? You know, what are the rules of the game? Like, how do I prove to you that this guy versus the other guy is the GOAT? What is the right way to do that? So I set a bunch of rules about that. And then I go through position group by position group, comparing players across eras, first in their position group, and then across position groups until we get to one guy. And I say,
no, that makes a lot of sense. No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So the idea is that if you're really the best player that has ever played, first you were the best in your era at your position, then you were the best in any era at your position, and then you played your position better than anybody else ever played theirs, right? So go through that kind of almost tournament style, go through those levels until we get to the guy.
No, that's pretty dope, man. Like it's crazy, you know, and it's mind-boggling, you know, to like, you know, hear your like opinion on the game, but your thoughts, because he was telling me, you know, when we were talking about this, he was like, "Hey, man, got this guy, man. He's a numbers guy. It's all numbers. And it's like when I play video games, or you know, when I'm playing like Madden, or when I'm playing NBA 2K, you know, it's a numbers thing to me. Stats matter to me, you know, and those things matter. It's like, you know, you kind of want to know what these numbers mean and why, you know, how important it is to the game, things like that. So it's really cool to kind of get an idea where you're coming from when you write this book.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Whew. Well, this one, and I say this one, this is, I've always loved writing. This one took a little bit longer than I thought, probably close to a year in the making. Part of it is, well, you have the idea and all of that, and you're filled with passion about that. But also, there's so many numbers in the book that fact checking is really important, right?
Very true.
Yeah, so it took me, you know, and of course, you know, other things, you know, you're living your life too, and you're doing other things, but it was very important to me to get all the arguments right, but also the facts and figures right. You know, like as you say, I'm a numbers guy, but at the same time, we love this game so much that I didn't want to cheat the fans by not being fully thorough in terms of how I thought about it. So it probably took a full year to put it together. And at the same time, I've got this thought in the back of my mind, and I started being present on social media because I'm fairly new to that, but I started my page March of last year. So it's been about a year and a few months now. But
no, that's incredible.
Yeah, always kind of building towards this moment. You know, this being the first, I've already started work on the second, but this being the first.
No, so before we get in, like, because there's a few things we would definitely want to touch base on.
Okay, sure.
You watch on a religious basis, right? Or are you watch like college football as well?
No, I'm not a college guy, but religious is a good way to describe how I watch the pro game, for sure.
Okay. What team are you actually, besides the Falcons, what team are you kind of like excited about, you know, as you know, right now, what you see and how they're making up and, you know, building? But,
you know, again, I love the history of the game as well. So one of the things I'm loving.
If you say Cowboys, we're ending this.
No.
Okay. And don't say the Jets. We don't say the Jets.
No.
We don't say the Steelers, and we don't say Cowboys here.
Yeah, I wasn't going to name any team in particular. I was going to name a theme.
Oh, okay.
And the theme is so many quarterbacks of color starting quarterbacks, because I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, and they have never really lived in a world where black players couldn't be quarterbacks, right? So it's just, to me, that seeing that level of progress and seeing the if you want to build your top list, a lot of black quarterbacks are on that list. And if you want to build, depth, there's of the 32 teams, I believe 16 of them will probably start a quarterback of color on week 1. And so very, as an older guy, very appreciative to see the level of progress that we've seen at that position. So I'm excited to see whether C.J. Stroud can take the next step in year 3. I'm excited to see what Daniels is going to look like in year 2. I'm excited to see whether Richardson can figure his stuff out or not. What we got here? I see.
Once you said Daniels, I was like, oh, okay.
So so that's very exciting, and just even broadening it out more. This feels like a historic era in terms of quarterback play. I mean, the guys, I feel like there's going to be 10 guys that are in the league right now that we're going to be talking about 30 years from now. Because they're that good. Whether it's Mahomes, whether it's Allen, whether it's Burrow. There's so many, and hopefully some of the guys we've already talked about. These guys, Lamar. I mean, these guys have a chance to be historic guys. So that's
definitely. It's wild to see how it used to be it used to be a pocket only.
Oh yeah,
and now it doesn't matter what color you are. Now everybody's running the ball. It doesn't matter what it is, And I love that about the game. It's fun to visually look at it and be like, wow, this is actually fun. I'm a fan of a good game. It's dope. I really do like it. Yeah. Speaking of black quarterbacks, we had Shedeur Sanders start this preseason for Cleveland on Thursday.
Right.
Talk about what you've seen from him and what you see what do you think he could bring to the game? Not only as stats wise, but just as a human being and as a professional athlete.
Well, the thing I love about the NFL, and this is kind of ties. You asked me about college football, and I am not a big fan of college football because I feel like there's only so many teams that have a chance to to be really good, right?
Right.
You're 10, 12 teams. They are the playing field's not level. So there are 110 teams that play, or whatever it is that play at the Division I level. Only 10 of them can really win. All 32 in the NFL can win, and your team is going to be based on how well your team makes decisions, right? Well, how well you draft and how well you develop and all of that. So I'm saying all that to say, Shedeur will ultimately get his chance, whether it's this year or whether it's in a future year, because the thing about the NFL is winning is valued over everything else. And yeah, and I think that he has landed in a good spot. There's really, Flacco, even if he plays well, he's not going to be there forever. Kenny Pickett probably is not real competition for him. I'm not sure if Gabriel is either. So even though he got drafted in the 5th round, he still went to the right team, in my opinion. So I think that he's got a big chance. Now, at the same time, again, I remember a time where guys used to have to be good as a professional before they were able to monetize being a professional. So he's got to be careful that he remembers what job one is, right? Job one, ultimately, if you're a good enough player in any sport, all of the other stuff is going to come to you if you handle that first. My fear, and I hope he doesn't fall into this, but my fear with Shedeur is that he's going to he's going to try to put the cart before the horse, right? Try to be legendary before he's actually legendary. And none of us want that, right? We want to see him do well, but that means grinding. That means being good on the field and then do all the other stuff, right? Get all your money, market all of that, but I want him to be as good as he possibly can be on the field, right? And if the contrast we see is with Cam Ward, who is apparently he's a gym rat. He's coming into the facility at 4:00 in the morning, and he's staying.
They're having to tell him to go home. Yeah,
exactly, and that's the level of dedication we want to see out of all of our athletes, right? I mean,
most definitely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a fan, not even as a fan of that team, but just a fan knowing that, hey, man, this guy's putting in the work. Like, I liked what he said the other day where he said, my dad, I watched my dad bust his ass, for a job he didn't like. Why wouldn't I bust my ass for a job I do like?
Yes.
And that's just incredible to hear, especially from, a young athlete who just got drafted. It's amazing.
Yeah. So the level of maturity, I mean, he understands it. And I think it's a good sign. Clearly the people who are in contact with him are feeling that from him as well, because I believe that didn't Warren Moon kind of hand the torch to him and hand his number to him, right? I mean, I believe that number was retired, but Warren Moon said, "Okay, son, it's all right for you to wear it because I believe in what you're trying to do here." So that's a pretty big endorsement. Still the only African American quarterback in the Hall of Fame.
That is true. That's true. Hey, so we're talking about history and things like that. We got to watch a quarterback in Jaden Daniels be very historic last year.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And you notice how, his game and approach, he's using VR. And that helped his stats. That helped a lot of his numbers, things like that.
Yeah.
Can you actually see a lot more quarterbacks taking on that same type of training just to have an upper edge?
I'm surprised. You know how footballs are very secretive. Like the teams don't want to talk about what they are doing. But clearly, when you see the footage from camp, a lot of the guys are wearing the GoPros on their helmets now, right? They're using technology in some way. And I'm wondering if Daniels and the Commanders are just being more public with it. Because why wouldn't you? I mean, the stakes are so high. Why wouldn't you just use everything you could possibly use to be better, getting those mental reps? It just seems like he can't be the first. And if he is, hats off to him. But
he really is. So what had happened was when he was at LSU, he met with the group that kind of developed this VR training. They basically were told, hey, they got shut down at first.
Right.
And then they pitched the idea to LSU and the organization of the program. And, Jaden's been using it since his days in college. And he's always had an upper edge. And that thing is he's running it at 3 times faster game speed than what he's seeing. So when he's looking at it, the game is a lot slower.
The game is slower because he's running it at 2x or 3x, like you said, in practice. All right.
And obviously, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's proven. Look at his stats. Look what he did last year.
Obviously, every team's going to get on that, right? It's working.
I would hope. I would honestly hope so. But you have some that are just probably, some quarterbacks like, nah, I'm not really into this. This is not the kind of film I want to watch. I want to watch it, visually old school wise. Let me break it down. He's breaking it down with an actual VR. And it's just amazing to see. It's an amazing story.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, the guys who would resist it, they better be really good. Right? If you're going to resist the thing that would make you better, you better be already pretty good, because I don't understand why you wouldn't do anything you could to give yourself an edge, especially a mental edge like that. Crazy.
So we talked about GOATs, and your story. I mean, the book that you have out is it's about GOATs. Like who's the greatest of all time at their position, things like that. Where do you put Aaron Rodgers as in the GOAT level?
I tell you what.
In your opinion, and honestly.
Yeah. Well, there is a level of, first of all, there's a level of skill set that's undeniable, right? At least peak Aaron Rodgers was an amazing player. Now, you notice how I said was. Peak Aaron Rodgers was an amazing player. The interesting thing about him is that the narrative around him was, prior to the last 2 or 3 years, the narrative was that he was somehow not cheated, but he was misserved or disserved by the Packers. They didn't put enough weapons around him. They didn't put enough people around him, and he should have done better, and he would have had they had done a better job. Now we're seeing him with what happened with the Jets, and who knows what's going to happen with the Steelers, but he doesn't but he doesn't seem to have the leadership gene that all of the other people that were in the GOAT conversation have, right? So if you're talking about quarterback GOATs, you're talking about right now, Mahomes is in that conversation, but prior to that, it was Brady, Montana, Manning, Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, the guys who were they were leaders as much as they were, maybe even more than they were physical talents, right? They were multipliers. And that's the thing that I think is missing with Aaron Rodgers. He's not a multiplier. It doesn't seem like he is amazing in his own right, but his mindset or his default position isn't trying to make other guys better or trying to lift other guys and put himself, and give them the credit versus give him. I mean, the one thing that,
well, in the world of sports, especially, we always say the QB position is a prima donna position, and he's lived up to that. He's lived up to that name much.
Look at a guy like Peyton Manning. Clearly, he has all sorts. I mean, if to play that position, you got to have a huge ego. There's no question about that. But you don't remember times about Peyton Manning throwing his players under the bus, right? It's always, even like Patrick Mahomes was a great example. When the Chiefs, the receivers are having all these drop problems, right? And everybody knew he was putting it there, and the receivers weren't catching it. What Patrick Mahomes would consistently say was, you know what, I got to throw it better in there. I gotta put it just a little bit better there so they can do it. I don't know what they're talking about in practice, but in public, he is not bearing his guys. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, is like, well, a late interception to be like, oh, well, I expected him to be running this route, and he was running the other route, and it's just not. It's not the way great leadership works at the quarterback position. So your original question was, where does he rank?
Yeah.
So if you're asking me where does he rank among the GOATs, I mean, I don't have him in my personal Mount Rushmore. He's not in my top 4. I'm not sure if he's in my top 8. He's got to be. I mean, you can't put him to 20 because he's a 4-time MVP. He is the most accurate quarterback ever in terms of touchdowns to interception ratio, and it's not close. Like, he could throw 35 interceptions in his next 35 passes, and he would still be have the highest touchdown to interception ratio of all time. So he deserves, and he does have 1 ring. I mean, he deserves credit for all of that. But when you're talking about courteous GOATs,
most definitely, and I definitely give you that. I give him top 15. I'll put him in the top 15.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of his ego. Who was the quarterback he backed up that he backed up for? Think about that.
Yeah,
you learn from your predecessor. You learn from the person that taught you, and that's my thing. And the person that taught you had a big ego as well. Brett Favre had the biggest ego.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's more than that. They all have egos. It's
the way you handle it, but
publicly,
Brett Favre was the same way.
Favre seemed to actively, I mean, he was not participating in Aaron Rodgers' development at all, right? He was not trying to help him at all. And so Aaron Rodgers, when the situation when he got to be in that situation, he did the same thing, right? It appears from the outside he wasn't participating in Jordan Love's development at all.
No, and I think that has a lot to do with the way these young guys get into the league, and take the scrutiny.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that Caleb Williams got.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Horrible coach, horrible system.
Yeah.
And there's no development.
None. Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
But there's no development. There wasn't any development there. Now we see Ben Johnson being the actual head coach of this of the organization. Everybody's saying the leadership and the way he's being more vocal in the huddle and calling guys out, and that has to deal with your head coach. Yeah. Jordan Love, same way.
I feel like it'll translate, right? Because that's more quarterbacks are ruined than they are developed in the NFL, it seems, right? And it's interesting that you pick a guy high, you pay him tens of millions of dollars. You would think the entire organization would be aligned around trying to make sure he was good. With the Bears, like it was insane that they allowed, knowing that they were going to pick him, that they allowed that prior regime to have his first year of development, right? If you know that you've got kind of dead man walking as a coaching staff, then why are you going to put your number one overall pick that you've traded all these assets for? Why are you going to put him in the midst of all that? That's crazy to me.
So with the fact that you're a numbers guy,
yep,
and I love that. Again, as I said and I said before, I love that. Talk about how these guys, these guys, where they come with the numbers. Where do you think these numbers come from when they're asking for their contract? And some of them are based on their talent, but some of these be astronomical numbers. Like look at Shohei Ohtani, look at Juan Soto.
Okay.
These guys. I honestly, I think in the next 3 years we'll have a player making $1 billion just to hit a baseball.
Probably. Well, that's an interesting case in baseball. That again is another reason. I grew up on baseball. I played baseball, as a kid. I loved baseball. Watched baseball a lot. I don't watch it nearly as much anymore. But baseball doesn't have a cap, so it's another situation where you've got teams that, have no shot at all. And then teams that have, like the Yankees and the Dodgers, and a handful of other teams are going to be in the mix every single year. At least they have the money to be in the mix every single year. Whether they play well is a different story. And then you've got certain teams that are never going to be in the mix. The Pittsburgh Pirates aren't going to be in the mix, so until something changes, right? So
it could be like Moneyball situation. If you look at it, it could be you could find a team that actually uses that, but I don't think teams use that kind of that system anymore. Buy whoever's the best available.
Yeah, baseball. All right, so it's two different questions. Baseball is a different argument than football. Football,
right?
Yeah, football.
But what I was saying is how do you where do you think these where do these numbers come from? Because there's some of these guys making crazy amounts of number. Every time I turn around, this person just signed, this wide receiver just signed the most historic contract, non-contract quarterback in the history, and it's like, wait, what? He just didn't.
What we always have to remember is, when a guy gets a big contract like that, gets a $35-40 million contract, he's only getting it because somebody can pay it, right? If the owner is paying $35 million, the owner's got $350 million. The owner's got $1 billion, right? So in football, it's really for certain positions, for quarterbacks, for wide receivers, for defensive ends, typically the edges. It's about what the market is and who got the last, right? So typically quarterback salaries just go up based on when the next elite guy gets his money, right? When the next elite guy, his contract expires or it's time to renegotiate and he gets more than the last. Now, what where some of them have gotten smarter is like Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't take the maximum amount of money he could get because he understands that the NFL has a salary cap. And if I take all the money, then there's not enough left to put the pieces around me to win. And at the end of the day, winning is what matters in the NFL, because if I win, I'm going to get 10 times my salary in other stuff, right? Tom Brady always understood that. He never took top, like what he could have gotten in the market. He never did, because he understood I need to have a defense. I need to have an offensive line. I need to have weapons. But now he won 7 rings, and he's in a position where TV networks are paying him hundreds of millions of dollars for part-time work, right? You know, he understood the game. And the game is, if you win, then the rest of this happens, right? If you don't win, you're going to get that contract, but you'll never get the next one. You know, you won't get the same level of endorsements. I mean, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are where they are right now because they won. Right. So I think that in football, I'd like to see, well, it's not my job to count another man's money, right? He should make whatever he makes. But if you're a quarterback and you're trying to maximize your earnings, your lifetime earnings, you're better off taking less now, putting a good team around you and winning, than you are getting max out on every contract and have the team be garbage around you because you've been paid. And we've got situations like that. I mean, I know you don't like the Cowboys, but they've got a big problem, you know, which you probably like, which is at the end of the day,
they really do,
because they're gonna sign Micah. So I think they're gonna have Micah and CD and Dak have their salary cap. 3 guys. And then they got to build a team. So that's, you know, and that's poor management by their ownership, by their owner/GM, Jerry Jones, who seems to always want to wait until the most expensive time to sign these guys. But it's bad team building, but it's also kind of bad strategy if you're the quarterback, because it doesn't matter if you make 60, 65 in a year if there's nobody around you. You know, ultimately, you will have made that, but you will have made
very true.
You will have made less than you could have made had you taken a little bit less and made sure the team around you was good.
No, and it's crazy, you know, when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Look, I know my hatred for that team, it does exist.
I honestly,
when you look at it, the talent,
I feel bad for their fans. Yeah. They'll win again. They'll never win again. As long as they're owned the way that they're owned, they will never win again.
No, and you're right about that, and that's my thing, because Michael Parsons is probably one of the most talented backs out there. He's one of the most talented linebackers out there. He could play the edge. He could play middle. He could play the outside. It doesn't matter where you put him. He can line up everywhere on that line or in as a linebacker.
Yeah.
And see that as a fan, you're like, okay, what are you doing?
You just pay him. Like, you know what? A great model for that had been the Atlanta baseball team. They went through and basically signed all of their star players before they got big, right? So they've got guys. A guy like Acuna is making so much less than he could because they saw potential in him, and they signed him for like a 10-year, $120 million. I mean, I'm not sure that, I don't know the exact numbers, but it is an order of, you know, it's probably a fifth of what Soto is making, but Soto was not 5 times the player of Acuna. Acuna is an amazing player. But what the Braves did is they signed young guys. They took some risk. They signed young guys to very long contracts before they were fully cooked. And the young guys took some risk too by saying, hey, I might be better than this, but I'm going to take this $10, $12 million a year for 10 years guaranteed, you know, and potentially leave a bunch of money on the table. So they were smart.
Yep.
that they did that. And I don't understand why teams, I mean, maybe it's not just the Cowboys, but most good NFL teams, like go back to Josh Allen, they extended him 2 years before they had to, right? So they didn't wait. They didn't wait until he got to peak value. They extended him sooner than they needed to.
Well, welcome back, sir.
Well, I finally made it here. I was listening. First of all, man, listen, I gotta say it, Mac, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to ask you to come on. I could listen to you talk football literally hours on hours. That, man, you are spot on. And thinking about the Cowboys, what you're seeing with the Cowboys is the same thing you're seeing with Cincinnati as well, right? They paid Joe Burrow, they paid Jamar, they had to pay T. Higgins, and now what?
See, that's the thing. It's like, so they've made the decision that they're going to double down on the thing that didn't work last year, right? So they've decided that, okay, we're going to try to win every game 49-48.
So Mac, I'm a Steelers fan, which is why Ant was thumbsing it down. But my favorite and most exciting thing was when I saw that they re-signed T. Higgins and they got him and Jamar and everyone taking care of it. And so now the fun is for the last 2 years, Trey Hendrickson has been the sack leader, and he is disgruntled and they don't have money to pay him. He is. And he's one of what, like, they let probably 3 or 4 really good.
Yeah. Well, somebody retired. I mean, they're a mess. And if you're a Steeler fan, you love that because they're an absolute mess.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
But I
do. So I want to talk to you.
Okay.
No, I love your thoughts. Like the way it's like if you have 3 max players, it's kind of like if you take it to basketball, you had Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker.
You can't.
You have 3 guys, but you have no bench, so you can't win.
Well, it's after that.
Yeah, so it's like I love that analogy, and I love the way you bring that up. And you're definitely right. I can hear this guy. I could listen to this guy talk about football all day long. Your numbers, it's great.
But look at the Bengals.
Before I go, Mac, I have to go here in a second. But before I go, I kind of want to hear.
Okay.
I know Block is going to keep you on for a little bit, but I want to ask you about the love for Kevin Williams and where did that come from?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Okay. So Kevin Williams, and for the folks who don't know, I have been on this mission, this tirade to try to get Kevin Williams into the Hall of Fame. Kevin Williams was a defensive tackle, primarily a run-stuffing defensive tackle, and the problem with that is that they don't have the same numbers that the slammer positions will have. It's not as easy to compare them. But the one number he does have is 5 first-team All-Pros. And when you're a first-team All-Pro, now I don't have to tell you, you are the best player at your position in that season. And it's rare for any player to have that many of them, period. And then it's extra rare for a guy to have that many of them and get almost no notice by the Hall of Fame. And so got to give you a couple examples. There are 24 players that have had 5 first-team All-Pros or more since the merger, since 1970. Wow. 21 of them are in the Hall of Fame. There's 3 that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, who are the other 2 besides Kevin? Do you know?
Luke Kuechly,
he's going
to go in.
Yeah.
And Shane Leckler, who was a 6-time first-team All-Pro punter.
Yeah.
So Luke Kuechly was a finalist last year. He'll probably go in next year. He'll be a class of 26.
Right.
Kevin Williams has never even been a semifinalist. So he's been eligible for 5 years. he's not yet made the top 25. Now, I don't want to call too many names, but it would be shocking to you if I were to start calling names of the players who have been on the top 25. One of them, like I said, I love this guy. I disparage this guy.
I just need three. Give me three.
But I'm going to give you one that
okay.
Steve Tasker. Steve Tasker was a special teamer extraordinaire for the Bills.
Okay.
But so he has been one of the top 20, like in one of the last 5 years, he was a top 25 guy, a semifinalist. And what happens when you're a semifinalist is they get to really start to vet your case now, right? So the way the process works is anybody who's like me, you, the three of us, we can get a player if he's eligible. So I've done that. I sent my, just to make sure he's on the ballot, I sent my letter in. I nominated the player.
Yeah.
But he's been on the initial ballot. And that initial ballot has typically about 150 players on it, right? Okay. Then there's a group of 50 football writers who will then vote, and they narrow that 150 list down to 25, the semifinalists, and then down to 15, down to 10, and then they really, at least in the old days, they used to physically get together and talk about this. Now, after COVID, I'm not sure if they do that anymore, but he hasn't even gotten a sniff. And part of it is because he plays a non-glamour position. Yeah. So there's just numbers upon numbers. There's 17 players who are primarily defensive tackles who are in the Hall of Fame. 4 of them have more than 5 first-team All-Pros.
Wait, there's only 17 defensive tackles in the Hall of Fame right now?
That's a problem. That's a problem first, right?
For me, it is. It most certainly is when you think about think about what it means for the game, and I won't go too far into the X's and O's. I mean, you know it, and a lot of our fans are knowledgeable. It's something I take pride in. But I mean, come on, man, we're talking about these are the you talk about a stat sheet stuff, and these are guys that carry a gap. A lot of times, defensive tackles. I know when I played D tackle, they asked me to work both A gaps myself.
Right.
Ball comes A, I'm there. Ball comes to the other A, I gotta fight through it. Me in the center, 1-on-1 all day.
The thing about that is you're not getting the tackles yourself.
Oh no, not at all.
Sacks yourself, but you're critical. I mean, and all you got to do is watch last year's Super Bowl to see how critical a defensive tackle can be. Yeah. But he's not going to get the sack. He's not going to get the tackles. But so the only thing he's got is these accolades, right? So how are you not considering someone who was the best player at his position for half a decade? One
of the things I think about, and just by comparison, where one of the things about college I do appreciate is they get the awards right, I believe.
Right.
Besides this Heisman Trophy.
Right. They got an award for every position group.
Right. That's also another thing. So, and I was going to bring up the Heisman, and I know there was you could question should it have been Ashton Genty, and I agree it should have been, but at the same time, the people who vote on the Heisman along with the writers are the Heisman winners. Once you win a Heisman, you become a voter of who becomes the next Heisman. Right? So I can imagine Archie Griffin voting for himself. Right? Or Tim Tebow and other some of those sophomores and juniors that won voting for themselves. But at the same time, these are people who know the game.
Yes.
And I won't ever say that, just because you didn't play doesn't mean you don't know. But this is an oversight of what happens when you don't play. Period, point blank. And
I chose him intentionally. Well, I was going through my list of who I thought the biggest snubs were, and I chose him, and I was happy that it wasn't like I've got no connection to the Vikings. That's not my team. I wasn't a fan of his while he played. Like, I really, it is. just trying to right a wrong, trying to do some justice, right?
Justice. I like it.
The reason why I wanted to do it this way, like, because I'm posting like every 3 days on Williams, because one of the reasons I'm doing that is because the ballot is finalized right around September 1st. So I want to make sure that that's it. But also, we as fans, we always want to complain about who's not in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
And two things that happen. Well, we complain and we don't do anything. That's just a human, right? But the second thing is, we're all complaining about different guys. So no one guy gets our push. Like, we all think that, well, whether it's Torrey Holt or whether it's Roger Craig or whether it's Steve Wisniewski or whether
wait. Roger Craig isn't in the Hall of Fame?
Roger Craig is not in the Hall of Fame.
Wasn't he the first 1,000 guy?
He was. Yes, he was.
And he's got what is going on here?
He got three.
I wish we could have this conversation a little bit longer. I'm sorry.
You'll have to have me
Mac, this was great. We definitely got to have you back on.
That was guaranteed, Mac.
Most definitely.
Definitely coming back. And no doubt, man.
But to the fans out there, see you guys on Thursday.
Thursday's
I will be placing probably 4th or 5th. That's where my 4th or 5th or 6th is where I'm wanting to go when we're doing our draft on Sunday. So always remember that. It is a pleasure. Mac, a pleasure having you. Thank you. I will see you guys Thursday.
And so just to kind of fully clarify, Mac, so we're I don't know if you've had a chance to look over at what we're doing. So we're hosting a fantasy football league. Do you get into fantasy football?
What's that?
Do you get into fantasy football?
I used to. I don't do it anymore. But not that I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't in a while.
Yeah. Listen, I took last year off from fantasy football. I had a big money league, and I might get back in there. I've been sewing into this podcast so much, and it was nice to kind of invest and make things a little more look a little better. But there was so much relaxation. Like, I just watched the games, and I didn't have any come on, catch it.
My son, as I mentioned, who's 21, he's a college student. He's got a minimum of 2 leagues going. Sometimes he's as many as 4 leagues in, but he's typically in at least 2.
So our guest yesterday, shout out to Ballers Meg, Ballers_Meg. She's got 33. Yeah,
that's a full-time job. That's a full-time job, ain't it?
Man, and look, here's the other thing, right? So she's in England, in Blackpool, UK. Okay. So she's watching the game. We were talking about it before we went on air yesterday. She was up till I think 4 because they're 7 hours ahead. Yeah, so the 10 o'clock game, and it's funny. I normally for a long time work 3 to 11. And so actually I worked at a hotel where it was a requirement that we had to have NFL football. If NFL football was on the television, we had to have it. Yeah, that was a fun time working there. But, my son, I would volunteer for Sundays on the fall, man. Games start at 1 Central, and they will go till 10 Central, and then I work for 45 minutes after that. Yeah, sign me up. We'll do that.
Yeah, right.
Just the idea of, and I would complain about it, oh no, it went into overtime, and so now the game doesn't end until 12. I can only imagine, it's 7 in the morning there, and
yeah,
thinking about that Steelers Cowboys game last year where there was, I guess, lightning or something, whatever it was. That game ended at 1 or 2 in the morning, man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that sounds crazy. So we're hosting a fantasy football league, right? And actually, I'll throw that up there. Okay. And so. Well, this content thing is huge, right? And you gotta have the content, and so and I'm most proud. Mac, I don't know what's gonna happen with this whole thing. It might all just fall up and burn, but I can tell you that normally my best ideas come about 10 minutes after I should have started doing them to get it off. So I was like, hey, we should have a fantasy football league. Great. well, you know what? This would be great content. We can kind of do it. It'll be kind of like reality.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we'll have a few confessions each week. We'll talk. We'll talk about last week's matchup, the week matchups ahead. And it starts this Sunday. Actually, we'll be doing.
Are you doing your draft?
We are. So the draft is on the 31st. But before that, to determine who's going to select first through 12th, it will be a game show style, like Big Brother. So everyone's going to do quizzes. I'm glad you're not in this league because as the Fanstorian, we just presume you know all 15 questions I'm going to ask. And so, and actually, I'm hosting it. I actually recuse myself. And so, you know, everyone else will get to pick before me.
Okay.
But I found these are some tough answers. I may send you the link just to let you take the quiz.
Okay.
I would love to see how well you do. But there's some tricky questions, and for I know a couple of the folks are watching right now. Quick hint: some of the questions have multiple answers. Right? So but very, very excited about the trivia questions, and so like it's just really great content, and there's a lot of really cool content creators. I got a guy he's an actor, actor that's joining us. You know, some of my sponsors are joining us, all sorts, right? So great opportunities, man. I'm really excited about it. I'll tell you the other thing I was super excited about, and I wanted to get to it before we wrap up. And I was gonna have you back anyways, but I definitely gotta have you back because I missed half the show trying to do some trying to do a little bit of production. But one of the things that I thought was really cool, and I was like, man, you know what? I definitely got to get him on to talk about this more. Is the GOAT rules? You know, in basketball, there's a big time GOAT conversation.
Right.
One of the debates that's not being talked about enough is the GOAT conversation in football. So tell me a little bit about how you derive this. You know, the process in getting. I know writing and getting published. And first of all, let me say before, if you don't sell 2 books, man, congratulations on getting published, man. It's awesome that you get the opportunity to do that. But with the way you talk, I'm sure even better. So you know, talk a little bit, fire away. Tell us about the GOAT rules.
Well, it is just what I think is the most fascinating debate in sports, which is the NFL GOAT debate, because different than some other sports, it's hard, right? You've got all these guys that aren't doing this. Like if you're trying to compare players across positions, same thing, right? Pick a team. Like one of the examples I use in the book is the last year, the 2023 San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
They have 5 first-team All-Pros. One of them is Trent Williams. One of them is Christian McCaffrey. They are both the best player at their position in that season, but they're doing wildly different things. They're different beings, right? How do you compare those things? And with the specialization in the NFL, it's an inherently difficult argument. It's debate, right? Whereas in basketball, first of all, you've got the players on the court the entire time, right? He's playing offense, he's playing defense. It's easier to see who are the best players in an era because of the impact they have on games. Whereas in football, the best players are off the field half the time. Right? They're off the field. What? So, but sports fans, we don't punt on anything, right? We want to. So, and then one of the things as I've gotten into social media, people will throw out GOAT this and GOAT that, and everybody seems to have a different criteria for why, for how their guy, or maybe it benefits their guy, but how they determine who the GOAT is. So the GOAT rules is really, it's a double meaning. The first book is I'm establishing the rules, right? These are the things that we will not violate. These are the, I have 6 of them. We're not going to violate those. There's others that are more subject to interpretation that, based on your personal preference, you might go one way or the other. Sure. But the latter half of the book is almost tournament style determining the GOAT. So if you are the best player of all time, first you have to be the best player at your position in your era. Then you have to be the best player at your position in any era.
Wow.
Then you have to be the best player the best player across positions and across eras. How do you do that? I mean, it's not easy, right? So we kind of walk through tournament style, first getting to setting the eras, determining who was the best player in each position group in that era, and then comparing those eras. So, there was 3 major eras that I dealt with. So the era 1, era 2, era 3, who was the best quarterback across those guys. Mm-hmm. And then when we got to the position GOAT, then it's who played his position better than anybody else played theirs. Okay. So that was and in the end, the GOAT rules. So the GOAT rules, the GOAT.
I like it. That's fantastic, man. It just thinking it through, the weirdest part about it is, and this is the beauty of football, unlike basketball, where in basketball, when we talk about a GOAT, there's these guys kind of transcend. If you bring a LeBron to your team, the expectation is a ring, or Luka coming to your team, the expectation raises. But you can LeBron can function without Luka, and still obviously has, right? So he's won rings without AD. He's won rings without D Wade, without Kyrie. He's made it to number after number of laurel after laurel, right, without every great person that they try to tag with him in that standpoint, right? Man, listen, let's say, and I hate to say it, but it's kind of hard to argue with 7 rings, right? So you have to say Tom Brady is probably the best quarterback to play the game. Okay. But if I say Tom Brady is the best quarterback, where is he without the best coach of all time? Well, right? Yeah. Where's the best coach of all time?
But that's another complication for the debate, right? Because every great player has other great players. Most great players have great coaches too. So I'll just peek inside the book for a second. One of the rules that I have is that, well, maybe it's 2 rules. I'm not going to project, meaning if you haven't yet done it, you don't get credit for it. That's Patrick Mahomes, right? A lot of people wanted to make him the GOAT because of what they thought he might do. But right now he has 3 rings and Brady has 7. Brady has twice the touchdowns and 3 times the yards. And you can't put him ahead of Brady yet. Brady's had Patrick Mahomes' career plus 2 more careers. So you can't do that yet. But the other thing people want to do is discount, either boost players because their supporting casts were bad, or discount players because their supporting casts were too good. And I get all of that, but at the same time, how do you do it fairly? Okay, if you want, one of the when I'm on social media, one of the ones I see is Emmitt Smith. People want to crush Emmitt because his line was so good. I'm like, okay, you can do that if you like, but what is okay, he ran for 18,000 yards. Do we give him 15,000? Do we give him 12, 13? I mean, what is the fair way to do that? And how can I apply it across everyone? So where we end up is just like Parcells said, you are what your record says you are. You are what your stats say you are. So, Period.
I'll admit to it, Mac. I am one of the few, or one of the many, that I will discount. When I think about the Barry Sanders and the Walter Paytons, yes, Emmitt had an outstanding offensive line. He had 2 or 3 All-Pros.
Yeah.
One year they started the Pro Bowl together, I think, right?
I mean, there's no doubting that. I mean, he had, I want to say, and I've counted this. I should go back and find this number, but something like 18 first-team All-Pro seasons between the linemen that blocked for Emmitt. Huge number.
So let me be honest. Again, I was an offensive tackle.
Right.
I will tell you that. So I shout out my man Wayne Hall. I know he's watching right now. Wayne and I instantly connected when we started playing together. We played minor league football together, and instantly, I mean, if we on 3rd and 8, we would run a stretch play to the Right? Like that was the kind of connection he and I had. But to be fair, and not that Wayne was a 4-5 guy. I'm 40, so Wayne's like probably 45. So he was fast for a long time, but like part of what it was his ability to just read me and cut off me. And he and I would talk in the backfield, and I tell him like, hey, I got a dog, so I'm just gonna drive him to the sideline. You better find my butthole and get north. That was that. So, but you know what I mean. But sometimes he would know how to set up the block.
Right.
This is the first time I've admitted this on air, but Emmitt Smith might have made some of those offensive linemen all pro and pro bowlers.
You know what?
As much as the Pro Bowl line made him a better runner. Oh God, we got a new viewer. Who saw that? Nobody saw that.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like you can't if we're going to do that, if we're going to just take yards away from Emmitt, or if we're going to add yards to Barry because the perception is that he had no line,
right?
We have to do it in a way that's fair so we can apply it to everybody, right?
Yes.
So, and because we can't do that,
right,
we're left with the numbers, which is just fine because football, life's not fair and football's not fair. It's not fair. Brock Purdy, who's another one who people want to say he's. I mean, many fans, maybe most fans, would say that his numbers, any other quarterback in the league would have gotten those same numbers or more if they were in that situation. That's what a lot of fans say. A lot of fans will say that, but the thing is, it's not fair that he inherited that and that other quarterbacks might inherit a different situation. But the numbers, and if he's stiff, we'll find out eventually, right?
Well, this could be a make or break year for as far as this will tell us, was he really that guy or not? But
we're gonna find that out, right? By the way, Brady, he was not Tom Brady those first 3 rings.
No,
he was Tom. He became Tom Brady.
Yeah, there's something to be said, and look, it goes into it. I was talking with someone about this recently, but there's something about championship medal. That experience, getting to the finals, even if you don't win it the first time. I mean, I in talking about GOAT rules, I think about LeBron and his eventual first championship, and he says about damn time. But at that first year when they lost to Dallas, that touched him, and I think the same thing happened with Mike, and I think the same thing happens with a lot of the folks that we see that are champions. I can step outside of our 3 or 4 major sports and look at tennis or golf. You look at how he finally finished it. Serena, every Gatorade athlete, right? That's won a ring.
Sure.
You get that exact same thing. There's something to learning how to win. I think about Tony Romo as a person I think about, and I hate to dump on him, but it's kind of true, man. When it came to winning time, some of the things he would do, it's just like, you played so well all game long. How does this happen? But it comes from some guys panic in that spot, and some people learn not to panic in that spot, right?
Well, that's where you got to give Mahomes his credit. The Super Bowl 2 years ago, where you've got Brock Purdy and you've got Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Every single gotta have it play, right? If Mahomes it seemed like he was faced with 8 plays that if he didn't make that one play, game's over and they lose. Brock Purdy, on the other hand, seemed like he was faced with 8 plays that if we make this play, we end
over.
And as much as I want to not treat quarterbacks differently, I want to treat them the same as every other player. That's why I don't. Because Mahomes, Purdy had a good game, had a plus game, but Mahomes had an A+ game, and the A+ was the difference between that ring, between one team winning the ring and the other. Right.
Well, and perfect example for you is you look at the Eagles this past season versus the Eagles a couple years ago. Jalen Hurts played really, really well in both games. But if I remember correctly, he didn't throw the same amount of yards. Like I want to say he went 305 in the loss, and I think he was 259 in the win, right? And one was that the defense was just pounding. So.
I mean, that was, and again, back to Kevin Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, the interior, the lines of that team, the offensive line and the defensive line won that football game. Of course, we gave the MVP to the quarterback because that's what we always do.
And you got to give it to the pretty boy.
If we were being honest, we would have given it to somebody who wore some number between 50 and 69. Who should have gotten the MVP.
Man, and look, I think about this, and again, as a defense, so fun story for me. Okay. I played minor league football, and so I've been offensive lineman my entire career. They tried to get me to play defensive line, and boy, howdy, I should have listened to them because I mean, I was all right offensive lineman. I went and played college football for a few years, but I played Division II. I think if I had really focused on playing defensive tackle, I probably could have made something of it. I don't know. And the reason I say that is because in minor league football, they pulled me over. We had 7 offensive linemen and 3 defensive linemen. We ran a 4-3. They slid me in at defensive tackle. I played the 2-tech. And all I did, honestly, was just shot the gap. But what I would do is I'd shoot the gap, and I didn't even get like very technical and drag linemen with me. Mm-hmm. It was, look, if you don't cut off 75, that was my number, then I'm going to make the tackle for a loss. So I was selfish. But what happened was the center guard would have to double team me, and the linebacker would have a Walmart aisle.
Yeah.
And our linebackers enjoyed that. So we would, I mean, like, and that was it. I mean, I finished with, I think, like 15 tackles. I had a sack or 2. I probably had about 5 tackles for loss because I would undoubtedly, I'm 6'5", at the time I was 330. I'm a little bit bigger now, but at that time, man, like you see that amount of size and you don't expect quick get off. Right. So that was where I kind of made my money. Was my first step was really quick, Mac. As the second and third, that was super slow. But
one's all you
exactly. So I mean, but I would tear it up that way, and I didn't just have a ton of tackles, but the stats didn't show for me. But the stats show for my linebackers and the defense as a whole, and how many 2nd and 12s were they? And so thinking about Kevin Williams, I think about this exact same thing. It's like, man, you talk about a guy, because if I'm not mistaken, All-Pro, that's voted by the players as well, right?
No.
Okay. Is that
Pro Bowl? The players and the fans and the Pro Bowl vote is one that's mixed in with all the budget. But the All-Pro is the same people predominantly who vote for the MVP.
Okay.
So these are sports writers.
Yeah.
But the reason I prioritize All-Pro is because it's a more select group than Pro Bowl, right? And then B, it's something that we can compare across eras, right? The All-Pro means something in 1975 and it means something in 2025, right? You were the best or the second best, because they do a first team and a second team. The best or the second best at your position that year, right? So, I'm
so confused about why he's
trying to get on
it. There's some things, and the Hall of Fame has thrown me off for quite a time now. Just trying to understand what it is that we're seeing and not seeing, and trying to not be biased. And so another thing I like about your book, The GOAT Rules, is that it's all encompassing, and it kind of gives you a level plane that for us to start on. And it definitely changes my thought process on who's the GOAT, why they're the GOAT, why, and for me, I think I have to go position by position, 7 on 7 at least. I can't say, because we could say Jerry Rice is the GOAT, and the numbers are the numbers, right? At the end of the day, I saw something recently that he was 40-something years old, and he still got, what was it? I want to say he had 1,000 yards after 40.
1,000 yards season at 40, yeah.
Absurd. Oh my gosh. But
the stat is, and I think I posted this once, the all-time receiving leaders over the age of 40. Rice has something like 2,500 yards over 40. Tom Brady has 2. He's second.
That's pretty good.
Everybody who's ever played at age 40 is third with 0.
Yeah.
And I think Brett Favre might have caught one of his own passes batted back to him. So he's like 75th with -2 yards receiving over the age of 40.
It's mind, and so then you start to take in stats like that for somebody like Rice, because look, there's Brady, there's Emmett, there's Rice. These are numbers that they're not gonna be touched for a really long time, because it's funny you talk about the stats, the number of yards over 40, and look, I mean, there's a lot of receivers who are 30 who don't touch 1,000 yards anymore. I posted it the other day. I mean, it's like some of our best players, right? Randy Moss, Nuke, Hopkins, we were talking about it with Ant, because we were thinking about the idea, the Commanders don't want to pay McLaurin, and that's understandable because he's 29, I think. So they got one good year left out of him before.
Or he's looking for that next deal, and history says that he's not going to be that 3 years from now. He's going to be cooked. That's the math, right?
Yeah.
That's the math. So back to our Bengals conversation. History says, since when has anybody won a title with 2 $40 million receivers? You don't win a title with one $40 million receiver. I mean, with one guy who is. When you look at the teams that win rings, they don't have the top paid receiver because if you're really good, you want to talk about Brady, you want to talk about Mahomes, they make stiffs good because they're good, right? So you pay the quarterback, and he transcends and he makes B receivers and C receivers into A's.
Yeah, I think about Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was one of those guys. I would stay away from Drew Brees' receivers. I would stay away from Tom Brady's receivers. I'm trying to think. There was a couple other quarterbacks where I felt the same way. It was just like, man, from a fantasy standpoint, I don't want nothing to do with them. I don't want nothing to do with them because I know it could be them. It could be anybody.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, look, man. All right. So one last question before we go, and we're definitely again. Let me say thank you to you, man, for joining and being patient with. This has been a interesting day for me. But
Anytime.
And honestly, I sat like a fan. I actually did comment earlier because I was just like, man, I love this, dude. This is like I could sit and watch, man, and hopefully we'll get to sit and watch again. So, all right, my last question before we go. Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Woo, boy.
Hello, here we go.
You're kind of asking me to choose between. I mean, there's so many good ones because the nature of a sports movie is you always get a happy ending.
Yep.
You always triumph. In the end. I mean, there's some adversity in the middle. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Remember the Titans. Man, I love that. It's got Denzel in it. I mean, come on. So
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Remember the Titans. From when I was young, I mean, how do you not like Rocky movies? Always a sucker for a Rocky movie. At least the first 4. After that, maybe not. But
I don't know. Look, man, I'll be honest and tell you. So I've always loved the Rocky movies. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, I'm also easily entertained. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm super like. And again, maybe one of the things I love about sports movies is that when I see a sports movie, like I said, we got a happy ending. We've got a bad guy to root against.
Yeah.
Look, man, I thought about the Mighty Ducks, but lately it might be the Little Giants. I don't know. I mean, there's some classics out there, man.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm a big Remember the Titans. You've got the sports element. You've got the race relations element there too. I mean, yeah, I love it.
It's a that's a fantastic one to talk about. So look, man, before we go, one more time, tell us about the GOAT rules, where we can find it.
The book is called The GOAT Rules. It is on Amazon. I'm working on getting it in many other places, but it is there and available on Amazon.com.
Well, we appreciate you for your time again, and can't wait to talk with you again.
Yes,
per usual.
I'd be happy to come back.
I mean, listen, it may be next week. Just don't stray too far. I guarantee you that, man.
You got it.
Shout out to everybody that's joining us. We've had a ton of comments, and I look, there's one of them mine. But shout out to everybody that's checking us out. We're everywhere, man. Like I'm of the mindset that, you know, to meet folks where they are. So, you know, we're broadcasting on 5 different platforms right now. But shout out to everybody that joined us in the comments today. You know, definitely shout out to the Angry Puerto Rican, Anthony Roman, and definitely a big shout out to you, Mac, man. Thank you again. You know, but is there anything you need to share with us before we go?
No, just you're gonna love the book. Check it out and join the debate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, as always, we appreciate everybody joining us. And as I always say, tough times don't last. Tough people do. Thank y'all for watching the Fanatic Sports Podcast.